Hey guys, what's up? How you doing? And welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another Pharaoh battle for you, but it's slightly different insofar as it's testing out a mod I'm working on. Now this mod is by no means completed or near completion. There's still a bunch of balancing stuff that I need to sort out, and also a couple of things I need to do in terms of the combat system itself, such as sort out abilities across all the unit types and just tweak a few values here and there, especially for archers. But this is a battle between Bay and Bay because, again, there's only so many rosters that I've actually been through so far, one of which is Thrace, another one of which is Greece, or the Achaeans, and I've also gone through Mat Assa and Mat Tamti. But the only bodyguards I've gone through is Bay. So it's just a Bay on Bay fight with some Thracian and Achaean military rosters. And obviously not all of... There's going to be more units than this in the actual thing. This is just a starting point, just so I can see whether the combat system actually works and show it off to you guys. So it's a one hit point combat system, very similar to what is present in Med 2, albeit a bit influenced by some of the mods I work on for that. Well, the mod I work on for that, Wars of Arda, insofar as how the archers, well, missiles and length of combat works. Obviously, I haven't gone to the same extent that Wars of Arda goes to with the length of combat, insofar as it's a bit shorter than that. Battles are probably going to be around 10 minutes if it's a one-on-one field battle, for instance. Though in a siege it could go on for a fair bit longer. And another thing that I will be taking from that is the way that axes work. So in that mod, it's basically a case of if it's an axe, it's AP. No matter what kind of axe it is, one-handed, two-handed, it's always AP. So that's the way I'm doing it. I believe it's axes and chariots that are going to be AP and nothing else. However, they will have slightly lower base lethality than other weapons to compensate for that. I believe swordsmen are about 60 or 70. Not 60 or 70, about 60, 65. Yeah, 60. While these guys are at 56, I believe. So they're still very, very dangerous, and they will ignore half the armor value when calculating lethality due to a very nice little ability that is present in game. Now, obviously, the way it has to work is that armor will decide whether a unit dies or not, and lethality will be the main deciding factor in whether something dies, hence the 1 damage and lethality being the big thing. However, certain units like javelins, and in fact only javelins, you'll see here they have 2 missile damage. This is the way that I've made missiles work, insofar as if a missile hits you, it's not, well, if an archer or slinger hits you, it's not going to be a one-hit kill. They have to hit you twice, but javelins will have the potential to get a one-hit kill with that 2 missile damage. Obviously, armor will still block some damage, so not all of the javelins that hit and deal damage will be a one-hit, one-kill, but some of them will. But any melee hit will just be a one-hit, one-kill. So let's go on to the army comps. We've got some Achaean runners, so swordsmen with some javies. Got some Achaean hillmen. Now, obviously, these guys, I've designed 2-handed units insofar as they're very, very offensively minded, but they do suffer in defense. However, these guys are a high-tier unit, so they're still pretty good at defending themselves. Young spears, 2-handed shock spears. So shock spears obviously more tanky than 2-handed clubs, albeit the fact these guys are low tier and those are mid tier, no high tier even, does set them back a bit. More Achaean hillmen. We've got some more Achaean runners, some Achaean spearmen. So obviously spearmen, they're designed to be the tanks, with clubs being a bit of a hybrid between spearmen and swordsman, albeit without any anti-large. I'll go over axeman, another high tier unit. Iron Club Warriors, so some clubs you can see here, relatively tanky for a tier 1 unit, but also they can hit stuff if they have to. Got Bay, obviously bodyguard unit, so these guys have double the health. So they are essentially 2 hit points, while these guys are 1 hit point. So they can take 2 hits, and obviously they are the strongest of warriors. They can have the best stats lines of any unit. Bodyguard units, those being generals or the tier 6 like Pharaoh and High King units. But naturally they will have very low manpower counts. The other tiers are high tier, mid tier, and low tier, with mid tier having around 120 to 130 men, low tier having around 130 to 140, and high tier having around 110. Got some more Argive axemen, some Achaean spearmen, more Achaean runners, and I think that's actually it. Yep, now we move on to my force, which is 4 units of forest skirmishers, getting in there with those javies, who javelins are actually like a hybrid kind of unit insofar as they're not bad in melee if it comes to it. These guys are a tier 1 or low tier javelin unit, so obviously if a unit like Young Spears, well not Young Spears, but Achaean Spearmen gets into them, there's a pretty sizable quality difference there. Now, Thracian Plainsmen are not a hybrid unit. They're a tier 1 sword unit, or low tier sword unit, so they're not bad, but they're also pretty bad. Like, they will kill stuff, but against something like a high tier unit, these stats, they won't hold up. Thracian Guard now, I've got 4 of those. Sorry, I brought 8 units of Thracian Plainsmen. But Thracian Guard I brought 4 of. These guys just a very, very strong, resilient spearman. They'll be able to hold, but they do differ from other spearmen insofar as they are slightly more aggressive with a melee attack of 13. They are actually more skilled than most other spearmen as well. However, their shields aren't the greatest, and they're also... They got more base value than other spearmen, but they won't have as much like total defense as others. Then I brought 3 units of Thracian archers. Archers have been toned down massively in this mod, so they'll be averaging around 80 to 90 kills, but I do want to give them a bit of a buff to bring it up to around just over 100, 110, 120 or so. And then back here we've got Bay wielding a club and shield, so you can see here slightly lower offensive stats, but pretty solid defensive stats, and that 2nd hit point. But without further ado, let us begin.
Ares guides us.
So you can see here I'm starting to move forward. Just want to get these javelins here in my eye line, in my line of sight, so I can just bring them down. And you'll see just how good having a 50% shield value is, and how much of a nerf archers have actually had. But you'll also see that these guys do die in a bit of a linear case, as opposed to an exponential, which it feels a lot more like in the newer titles. And this is a unit I forgot to say. I gave them Achaean Javelinmen, of course, just a mid-tier Javelinmen, so they're better than Forest Skirmishers, and as you can see, they've got a much better stat line. In fact, that's a better stat line than the Thracian Plainsmen have in melee, just because they're a better unit. I beg to differ, buddy. But yeah, I'm slowly inching forward until I can actually shoot these guys. My Thracian archers, I just want to be able to deal with those Javies relatively sharpish. At least I'm fairly trying to inch forward a bit more. Yeah, it's just slowly but surely inching forward until these guys are actually shootable, which they unfortunately aren't just yet. But in behind these guys, obviously this is against the AI, it's not against another person. I do need to get some of those battles though. However, that will come once it's in a bit more of a complete state. Maybe we've got a couple of complete rosters done, so maybe we get Bay's entire roster balanced and potentially Ramesses's.
Those archers are close.
Or maybe Agamemnon's. And at that point, it will then be a case of just, you know, testing out with a friend or two, getting some siege battles going in it. But yeah, you can see here, some of them die, and it's just like, it's more linear. I think I want to increase the lethality of archers a bit more, or potentially increase their accuracy by a slight little bit. But you can see here, they're still doing a decent amount of damage. They're still dropping. But anything that hits and isn't a lethal blow does 1 damage, but anything that hits and is a lethal blow will do a lot more. Getting some javelins off. These young spears aren't going to like that. However, they do have 140 men, so they can take it a bit better than most can. I'm just trying to pull my forest skirmishers out of there. I don't really want them to get killed too much. I'm just charging my Thracian plainsmen in because, again, or moving them over even. Over here, you can see Thracian guard just tanking. The charge didn't go too well for them, but the quality should win out for them in the end. You can see there, their kills are going up a lot faster than they're losing men. But that is what you'd expect when you're a high tier unit going up against a low tier unit. Over here, I've got some Thracian plainsmen just tanking, well, not tanking even. The forest skirmishers are tanking these guys. The Thracian plainsmen are just tanking these guys, and this unit is just throwing in some of its javelins. I've charged forward this unit just to try and stop these Achaean runners and Achaean spearmen. However, a tier 1 sword unit is not going to be a match for 2 tier 2 units even. God, that's a tongue twister. Although they will still get kills just because of the way Med 2 combat works, just the randomness of it all. These guys, again, up against Bay, Bodyguard, and some Argive Axemen. That's going to go even worse for them. And over here, we've got some high-tier shock just going after Thracian plainsmen. Again, probably not going to end too well for the Thracian plainsmen there. The forest skirmishers here, just I've got them throwing javelins in, just hoping to get some cheeky little kills off. And already they are up to 33 kills, and they haven't even really been in melee yet. These forest skirmishers, again, just showing that they're not half bad in melee, up to 62 kills. It does look like they're throwing their javelins in melee, which looks like a bit of a bug. These guys have, it looks like, one fair fight. Over here, I've got 2 units of Thracian plainsmen trying to deal with the unit of Achaean spearmen. That should be a fight that they win by a decent margin, although both units are depleted by a decent margin, so it could go either way. In fact, it does look like these guys aren't actually engaging, they're just slowly but surely throwing javelins in. Which, I mean, they're padding their kill count out a bit. Can't really complain. Now, here's where the issue with the Axemen is. In an actual thing, these guys probably would have beaten these Thracian guards. And I'm sure that once I get the actual abilities in, they will. The lack of their AP is definitely hitting them hard here. Purely because they just don't have the stats to deal with the Thracian guard, really. Like, they're not half bad, but they're also not as good as a unit like the Thracian guard either. Now, these Achaean hillmen, they're just causing issues. I've got Bay just in the center of the front line here, just helping the Thracian guard deal with these guys. And he's racked up 18 kills, while the Thracian guard are at 63 currently. This unit of Thracian guard up to 91 and is just desperately holding on against this absolute horde of enemies right here. This unit of forest skirmishers does end up routing, and that does mean there's a few units of the AI free to start causing issues. Got this unit of archers just using direct fire and going after these Achaean hillmen, Achaean spearmen, but Bay does not like that, and he decides that, no, I am charging them. It is a bit confusing looking at it. The banners are really kind of useful here. Just knowing whose units are whose via the green and red is going to be pretty useful. But yeah, baying that unit of Thracian Guard is relatively surrounded at this point. I've got this unit coming in to surround the front of the surround, if that makes sense, so that they're no longer surrounded. And I've got some reinforcements just coming over. These guys are surrounding the surround. I've got these guys heading over there for some reason. But no, I decide, yeah, no, I'm turning these guys around. Try and get some javies into those young spears there. And in fact, I charge them actually. Ow. Get a cheeky little charge off with my spearman. Swordsman even. Again, the two-handed nature of young spears means they're not too bad, and they've got the charge bonus of 3, but they're more aggressively minded than their one-handed counterparts, but that does come at the expense of their resilience, really. I sent this unit of Thracian Guard over to help deal with this unit of Achaean runners and those Achaean spearmen there, and they do so, and that's freed up a decent force, actually. Come over here and help. I've got this unit of Thracian Guard just hanging around. I've got these Thracian plainsmen, again, just hanging around. And at this point, it's looking not too bad. Obviously, there's still Bay that we have to worry about, and that's an issue, but we've still got my Bay, albeit a bit more banged up, but we are actually outnumbered at this point, which isn't great, it has to be said, but my forces are actually arguably in a better position as, well, yeah, I've got some guys over there. A good chunk of my force is actually, like, set right here. While a decent amount of the enemy force that is counting, got some over there, some over there, some over there, some over there. It's a bit all over the place, if you get what I mean. Well, I've got a unit here that can just send a few volleys into those young spears. I've got these guys heading over, these guys heading over. So none of my units are as far away as some of theirs. And already you can see we're massively evening this out here. Just the high tier nature of what I've got left. Just really causing these guys some issues. Bay still at 55 men and dying pretty quick. So that second hit point starting to wear off now. I would say that's the bodyguard unit's the only case where I would say you will really see an exponential so far as how quickly they're dying. So obviously they will have that second hit point to play with. So at the start they won't die as quick, but then once that second hit point gets used up, they'll start dying a lot quicker. But even so, it's at a pretty steady rate it looks like. So it's not too bad. And you can see here, we're now not really that outnumbered because, again, most of what they've got is just lower tier and some mid tier stuff. While I've got a lot of high tier stuff with a good 100 or so Thracian Guard remaining. And a unit of Thracian Guard is nothing to be trifled with. They can do a lot of damage. But with that, we get the win. Bay beats Bay. But yeah, just leave a comment telling me what you think about the mod so far. Potentially give me some ideas on how to improve it. And just let me know what faction you might want me to work on next. Potentially give me some abilities to give these guys. Only stuff from Vanilla Pharaoh though. I don't want to have to worry about adding new abilities in. But yeah, let's end the battle and see what did the damage for both of us. So you can see here my low tier swordsman didn't do too badly. A couple of them breaking 100 kills, but that's going to be because I gave them pretty good engagements against stuff like young spears. Also didn't do too badly. That 3 charge bonus that they have, as well as being more aggressive, really coming in useful for them. Achaean hillmen, again, really not doing too badly for themselves. Achaean spearmen, not doing the greatest, but they're only a mid-tier spear. They were going up against pretty dangerous units. Even so, a couple of them almost getting to 100 and a couple of them doing a bit worse. Argive Axemen, again, they're doing a bit worse than they will do in the actual like finished thing, because again, with the abilities, these guys will be getting that ignore 50% arm when calculating lethality thing. So they'll be much better. They'll be more used to hunt down stuff like the Thracian Guard. who they couldn't, in fact, beat in this battle. Achaean javelinmen, again, javelin's not necessarily the most useful thing, but if they did end up getting caught out, that mid-tier javelin could have been very useful. Maybe I'll give them a bit of a buff in terms of accuracy. I don't know. It depends what happens in future battles against actual players, because you can't really trust what an AI does. Not everything's going to like actually tell you the truth. Because again, the AI is just so bad. But if you're testing an entire combat system, having a couple battles against the AI can't hurt, because it just shows you the gist of the combat system anyway. The balance is what you can't test with the AI. And you can see here the bodyguard tier Khopesh is doing pretty well for themselves, 156 kills, while this Club Bay getting 72, but also not taking too many losses, which is about what I want. My javelinmen also not doing too badly. Couple of them around about 50, but one of them breaking 100. My archers sitting around 60 or 70. I do want to give them a buff to get that up to at least 100, I'd say. Maybe a little bit lower, maybe 90 or 100, potentially higher even. Then the Thracian guard, just that high tier core, getting almost all of them over 100, with one of them getting just under 100. Though I do think those were fighting Bay at the start. So, thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave a dislike if you didn't. Leave a comment to show your support, and subscribe if you're new around here. I try and upload relatively frequently, although recently that's been a bit difficult due to school starting again, and all of the stuff that goes alongside that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.